I think this location is still okay for right now, but it's a significant amount of water. I'm just stunned at how much the.
Oh shit. Oh.
Anderson's shot there as you can see the Manatee River. It's getting worse by the moment as you are watching all of this. What's remarkable is you are seeing all of these different live shots from where Anderson is, from where Carlos Suarez is, from where Bill Lear is.
No!
We're seeing the consequences of this storm
told you.
as it is making landfall here.
I told you, you need to bring that's not an outdoor gay, that's an indoor gay. Yeah, this man is the crazy guy. He's Lieutenant Dan or whatever. He's a fucking also another nutty guy. He's all over TikTok too. I gotta pee real quick. Here, watch this man explain his situation while I go pee.
The people that are new, explain to them why you're deciding to stick out a Category 5, one of the worst hurricanes in Tampa history, out on a 20-foot sailboat in Tampa Harbor.
God told me to come out here and get a boat. I came out here and got a boat. And everything that he's been telling me over the last 2 days is I'm doing the right thing. He's got my back. I'm in good shape. I ain't sweating it. We're going to ride this one out. We got set up the way we know what we're doing. And as long as the water just keeps rising, we'll be fine.
Will you be wearing a life jacket?
Hell no.
Are you going to be able to swim if it need be?
In circles.
Can you swim with one leg or what?
Yeah, I can float like a damn champ, but swimming I just go in circles.
So the plan's just to stick it out here?
Yeah, I mean, the water's gonna come in, it's gonna rise. If you're on land, it's gonna flood, you're risking drowning. I'm in a boat. The boat goes up with the water. So even if the boat goes up 100 feet in the air, I'm gonna be up 100 feet in the air with the water. So it's really, the safest place in the world to be is on my boat, and I got room for one more female.
Give the people some words of wisdom out there.
You know what to do. Just be safe. Don't do stupid shit.
Can I say something? This attitude is the exact same attitude that I had when I was a child, and I always thought, like, if I jump right as the elevator is about to hit the ground, I'll survive. Like, what he is demonstrating right here is identical to, like, me being a kid and thinking, oh, if the elevator falls when I'm in it, I'll just jump right before the moment of impact and I'll survive it. I swear to God, it's the same mentality. Okay? It is straight up. Oh my God. It is so bad, brother. It is so bad. It's crazy. Boat goes up, though. You think about that. No hurricanes here in Texas. It's on the same ocean as Florida. Why? Texas is not a swing state. I'm done. I mean, dude, you can convince these people anything. Like, you can convince these people to do anything. Do you understand? You can convince them to vote for the Republican Party. That's for sure. There's a rumor that went around after 9/11 that a guy fell out of the tower, landed in a door, and made his way to safety at the bottom seriously, and shelter if there is one in their area. Look at the tattoo on his stomach. That's what he thinks a tiger looks like. My man needs help. That's an interesting way to figure out that this man is not well.
And as long as the water just keeps rising, we'll be fine.
Will you be wearing a life jacket?
Hell no.
Are you gonna be?
I mean, to be fair to him, I don't think a life jacket is saving him at that point anyway. So he might as well not, you know? Yeah, it's just, Fuck's a life jacket gonna do, dude? What the fuck is a life jacket gonna do for him at that point? Explain how a floating boat will be affected by a storm surge. It is water. Dog, what do you think happens to boats when they're out sailing in the water and a storm occurs? Not even like a fucking category 3, category 4 hurricane, just a tropical storm. Hasan, it literally floats. Storm surges can't affect floating things. The storm surge is not the only concern for him, and you're also wrong, because no expert boater is going to be able to navigate through the storm surge that is filled to the fucking brim with debris with 130-mile winds, dude. What are you talking about? The boat does not float permanently, okay? It is going to capsize. He is going to die. I can't tell if it's a meme or not, or if we are just like, I bet 500 that he lives, so we'll see who's right then. Yeah, he is going to live because apparently they forced him to evacuate. So you're not wrong. He is most likely going to live, not because he stayed on the boat, but because apparently, according to the mayor of Tampa, no, the mayor of Tampa said that they like forced him to evacuate.
Be able to swim if it need be.
In circles.
Can you swim with one leg or what?
Yeah, I can float like a damn champ, but swimming I just go.
No, they didn't. That's fake. He's still on the boat. Oh my God, he's dead. He's dead. Okay, never mind.
So the plan's just to stick it out here?
Yeah, I mean, the water's going to come in, it's going to rise. If you're on land, it's going to flood, you're risking drowning. I'm in a boat. The boat goes up with the water. So even if the boat goes up 100 feet in the air, I'm going to be up 100 feet in the air with the water. So
yeah,
it's really the safest place in the world.
Yeah, the safest place in the world is the safest place in the world. What? He's been milkshake ducked? Oh, wow. A crackhead who is about to die in the next 24 hours is not a good guy? Oh, well. Oh, me. Oh, my. I am so shocked. Lieutenant Dan is a digital creator who started GoFundMe 3 weeks ago. He has 4 names and was arrested for battering. Wait, what? Battering a law enforcement officer with a violin? He's already up to 20,000 and has accepted the mayor's offer for shelter. I hate grifters. Okay, he sounds cooler now. Now I want to give him money for his fucking... Brian Enton. For everyone worried about Lieutenant Dan, I just talked to him. His real name is Joseph Malinowski. He says he's going to stay on a sailboat in the Tampa Bay.
Everybody's worried about you.
Who's worried about it?
It's all over TikTok.
Everybody, across the country.
I'm going to go live in a minute.
Are you going to be okay?
I'm going to be fine.
I don't think people realize you're so close to down. I mean, you could just get off if something bad happened. You know what I mean?
Also, dude, when I found out, okay, Brian Enton exposing his real name, all of a sudden things make a lot more sense. Okay. That's a beautiful Polish man right there. Maybe he will survive. Okay. That's a beautiful Polish man right there. Okay. What do you mean? I'll survive. Hello? My boat floats. Oh, that's it. Yeah. I've tactically ascertained that this is a Polish type of person. Oh, dude. God damn.
I'm not going anywhere because the safest place to be is on a boat in a flood. Okay, we learned that with Noah. Everybody that stayed on land drowned. Noah.
We learned that with Noah, like he means the ark? Is he talking about Noah's Ark? Yo! This guy is awesome. Yeah, he'll be laughing now. You won't be laughing. This motherfucker, oh my God, dude. Americans are so awesome. Straight up. I'm back. I'm back in. I'm back in. I'm back. Americans are the best, dude.
And the animals live. So I'm fine.
Do you have any animals?
No, I wish I did.
Okay.
I could use 2 females.
I love people calling him a grifter, by the way. Like, he is a crackhead. Like, I don't think you can be a grifter if you're a crackhead. I mean, I guess you could, but like, he's just an insane person. I feel like you have to be extra dumb if you are somehow sucked into a scheme that this person has put forward, you know? It's kind of on you at that point, right? Like, grifting requires a little, like, your mental faculties to be in somewhat in order, okay? Like, he's just, there's a difference. I feel like Tim Pool is a grifter, right? Oh, I'm a centrist, I'm a liberal. Like, that's a grift. He's not. He's lying deliberately, right? And it's not like he's super smart, but obviously he's, you know, he's somewhat mentally competent. This man, on the other hand, crackhead. Straight up. At this point, when he says like, oh no, Noah's Ark survived, like, that's a crazy person. It's kind of on you at that point. Like, if you look at this person and you go, no, that's my guy, like, I think this is going to be, you know, I believe him. Okay, then, you know, that's kind of on you. I feel like you kind of deserve to get duped by this guy.
Well, you got all the news crews right here during the storm, so you can just, you know, if you need anything. Everybody's worried about you, buddy.
Everybody's worried about me. Everybody wants me to get off the boat. People don't. Being that I'm tied up to the cleat on the dock there, and it's secured in the concrete, which is secured to all this thing, I have a secured anchor point. I'm tied to the boat. If the tide goes up, I go up. As long as the water stays out of the boat, I'll be fine. And the wind is, it's not a tornado. It's not going to get lifted up and thrown into Kansas. Okay, it's not like that. I'm not suicidal, but I'm putting it in God's hands and taking it out of mine and man's.
All right.
So I'm sitting tight. I'm going to play it out.
Well, like I said, we're all right up here, so if you need anything, everybody's parked right here, okay?
I love you all, and I thank you for the concern. I'm not nutty. I'm just doing what my father told me to do, and I'm doing it, and I'm being me. I don't go with the grain. I'm against the grain because it's all just, you're all robots. You're all sheep following the masses. And I'm the black sheep. I'm the one that does what I feel is right. And I don't care what anybody says or wants to do about it. I do what I think is right. And since God found me 10 years ago when I found him, and he's been my right hand all along. He told me to come here, I'm here. And I'm putting my life in his hands.
Inshallah, brother, you will ride this out. Inshallah, brother, you will survive this, okay? Everybody breathing in the air, fucking sheep. I'm gonna hold my breath.
I'm gonna go home tonight because he's calling me over.
Like, what does he think is gonna happen when the water levels rise and in that process his boat directly fucking slams into like the first building? Like, how does he? Has he not thought about this? Does he think that the storm surge just goes boom? One moment one moment the ocean level is here, next moment the ocean level is here, and magically you just avoid all of the debris? Like, what? Like, how is that? You're so dumb. He tied it to that dock. How could it bump into a building? He said his boat rides above in the last video. Yeah, but the boat is not going to ride above the buildings and the electrical poles and the so many things he can hit before we even consider 135 miles per hour winds that will slam things into his boat. The boat is capsizing.
Well, we'll check on you, okay?
Thank
We'll be up here and we'll check on you.
I appreciate
All right.
it.
Thank you, sir. Stay
you.
safe. You got some time to rest. All right.
I only got about 2 hours sleep.
Like that, he's slamming into that right there. Okay, that's what he's slamming into.
It is really flooded pretty much everywhere. Yeah, it's completely flooded. It's getting bad out here. I don't know.
This has got to be an older video. There's no way. I don't. Why did you ever leave Florida? I mean, look. That's from last week. Oh, this is from old video is not dark yet. Yeah, this got to be from Helene.
What do we got going here, Lieutenant Dan? What are you thinking? There we go.
That way when I bang in, it has more freedom than what the hell is there. So I'll bang right into the wall.
There we go.
Hasan, he's not that brave. I was walking my dog and about 5 of my neighbors were also out. Tampa Mayor confirmed Lieutenant Dan was evacuated like 2 hours ago. No, it turns out he isn't. Brian Enton says he's right there. He's staying put. Live footage of Lieutenant Dan. Storm surges are currently starting. Huge warning. Storm is about to start an hour early. Wait, really? Part of the reason he doesn't want to leave has to be that the boat is the only thing he owns, right? Dog, what are you talking about? That is the exact same principle for many people who have also left their homes. Like, hey, you know what? Here is one trick that stops you from owning anything permanently. It's called dying. Okay? Like, what are you talking about, man? What is everybody talking about? It doesn't make any sense. Like, he said, my proof for why I will survive this, Noah's Ark. I'm going to remind you guys what it looks like, okay? I need you to see it again. This is what it looks like when shit's flooding.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Dude.
That's just cheap manufacturing. Yeah, okay.
No. Come on, wait till the no.
Wait, so they did. Wait, no. But until then, he's staying. They're evacuating him at 5 p.m. How?
No. Come on.
What does this show? This from Hurricane Ian 2022. Note that it's edited to skip ahead to certain times. Very important for chat to see this. The Tampa area is facing a potential 15-foot storm surge with Hurricane Milton. Here's a video of a similar surge in Fort Myers during Hurricane Ian. Yeah, it's like a time lapse with edited skips. Jinxie said he was staying in a mandatory evac zone and waiting it out. Also, is he still there? No, I saw a TikTok of him talking about how he's going to a fucking shelter. A lot of people are going to like safe zones, shelters, okay? They're leaving their homes if they don't want to go super far away or they can't go super far away. They're just taking their possessions, like their valuable possessions, their dogs, their pets, and they're going to, if they are in the impact area, they're in the evacuation zone, they're going to shelters. Ron DeSantis, for all of his faults and failures, very openly communicated that in a couple-mile region, there are a bunch of areas that you can go to, a bunch of shelters that you can go to, okay? These shelters are also pet safe. Here's the Jinxie clip.
Imagine this, 9 feet and even
what?
of flooding, of inundation. This is
What the hell?
survivable. So please follow the advice of your local officials when they ask you to evacuate.
All right, bro, fuck it.
All means,
Am I in the evacuation zone? Hi, guys, pull up the evacuation zones. Okay, guys, I'll give you a rough estimate of where I am. Okay, I'm not here. I'm kind of in this area. I'm kind of here, okay? This is like a rough, 200-mile radius. I'm kind of in here, bro. I'm in this area. And don't say Tarpon Springs, because I'm not in Tarpon Springs. Leaked. Guys, I'm the one. Why are people typing Tarpon Springs? Yo, guys, I've never lived in Tarpon Springs. Okay, no evacuation order. Voluntary evacuate. Mandatory evacuation order. Oh, my God. All right, yes, my county is... What? I'm just gonna fucking... bro, I'm riding it out. I'm riding it out.
Do people legit find this funny? Yes. The answer is yes. People do legit find it funny. Anyway, this is not done yet, chat. Let's keep going. Remember, at the 1 minute mark, this is where we're at. This is how it started, right? This is how it started. Then it got to this. Then it got to this. Then it got to this. So, if it can do that to the house, what do you think will happen to a boat? This isn't Milton. No, this is from 2 years ago. But the similar predicted storm surges in Fort Myers during Hurricane Ian. I don't think you understand how boats work. They go with the flow. They don't stand still and it can float. Dude, stop. Stop. Dude. Please stop. Please stop. Boats, yes, they do float, but they also capsize, okay? Are you a fucking caveman? Are you an ape? Do you legitimately, you're joking, you're fucking with me, right? Like you're not trying to like genuinely argue with me that boats famously withstand storms well. Show to chat, please. No, they're gonna look at this and go, see, this is about surviving.
Now some have died and some are alive, and others sail on the sea with their keys to the cage and the devil to pay. We lay to fiddler's grave.
Bro, I don't understand how the fuck people do this shit, by the way. Like, I will never understand it. Hello, my family and I sail. The waves will go over the sides of the boat and it will fill with water and sink. Even electric pumps that modern boats have won't be able to keep up. This is if it doesn't capsize or get punctured by debris. Flooding is more likely than puncture, more likely than capsize. Capsize is less likely because sail's done. Notice how there aren't any telephone poles in the middle of this fucking ocean, nor is there a tremendous amount of debris. Also, notice how these boats are specifically built to withstand these kinds of fucking treacherous conditions in comparison to his little dinghy, Lieutenant Dan's little dinghy.
We have new video.
Let's look at from Ian once again. Let's look at what happens to the boats in the aftermath.
Damage from Hurricane Ian. This right here is what it looks like on Sanibel Island. Look at that pileup of ships.
Right, Sanibel just got hammered. This is off the coast of Fort Myer. I mean, look at all of these boats here tossed around, piled on top of each other. So it moved out into the Atlantic, and Kelly says it came across South Carolina, making landfall, and is now since weakened.
Right.
Sorry, I know this isn't the point, but here's another boat video. Trying to prove that those North Sea videos are only scary because of the Yoo-Hoo song. No, that's that's terrifying, actually. That's legitimately terrifying, actually. I don't like this, even with that song. If Lieutenant Dan lives, this is going to be your new Ukraine take. I mean, dude, I'll take that L, and I'll be glad to take that L. Okay. I hope he does. I hope he does survive. That would be awesome. I just don't think that there is a high likelihood that he will survive. I don't understand why you are arguing with that mentality. It's not a matter of logic. It's a matter of coping and denial. Do you think after this guy is dead, the chatter is going to say, I see how wrong I was? No, they will say, I would have pulled it off. If I'm a rescue worker and I hear, man, Hasan was right from some dumbass I just pulled out of the water, I'm throwing them back in. Oh, Jesus Christ. Wait, what? This guy's response, no, 10 to 15 inch surge is expected, not feet. What? What is going on? What is happening? What is going on? Anyway, this is another thing I saw. No hurricane here in Texas. Same ocean as Florida. Why? Texas is not a swing state. Dude, that's awesome. That actually is fucking sick. This guy literally said same ocean. Ocean. Famously tiny bodies of water. Oceans are famously tiny bodies of water. So obviously when you're 2,000 miles away from the impact area, because it's the same ocean, you're supposed to be impacted in the same way. Yeah, most intelligent day trader.
It's the time of the season.
He's right. Texas isn't a swing state, and it is the same ocean, and there is no hurricane there. Yeah, no lies told. No lies told there.
Mexico waters or what?
I saw one of the dumbest Neil deGrasse Tyson clips I've ever seen, and it shocked me. Like, I know he sometimes says like silly things like, silly liberals, you know. I don't know. He'll every now and then he'll have like a silly ass take and he'll be like, what the Sigma ass takes every now and then. But this last one I saw on TikTok was insane. He was like, the America I knew would be working in real time to take advantage of these winds, of these hurricanes to basically capture the energy. But we're so silly nowadays in America that we just like look to escape it. That's what he said. Does anyone have that TikTok? We got to watch it. It's awesome.
I'm tired of looking at countless thousands of cars exiting a city because a hurricane is coming. Where are the engineers and scientists saying, you know, instead of running away from the city that's about to be destroyed by this hurricane, let me figure out a way to tap this cyclonic energy of this hurricane to drive the power needs of the city that it's otherwise going to destroy. Where are those people? You need a culture where that becomes a natural state of how people think, rather than buy toilet paper, buy water, run. That's our current natural state. And I don't think that was the country I grew up in.
I'm serious when I say this is the dumbest thing I've heard this man say ever. It's especially dumber because like it shows the impact of like hurricanes while he's talking over it, and he's like, why are people just like running to grab toilet paper? Like we need to change our attitude about hurricanes in general.
We've been in constant contact, and they've been very thankful and appreciative of the help the federal government is providing, and I'm appreciative of all they're doing as well. And I've told them to contact me with anything else they need. We have made available an unprecedented number of assets to deal with this crisis. We're going to continue to do so until the job is done. But now I want to be clear about something. For the last few weeks, there's been a reckless, irresponsible, and relentless promotion of disinformation and outright lies that are disturbing people. It's undermining confidence in the incredible rescue and recovery work that has already been taken and will continue to be taken. And it's harmful to those who need help the most. There is simply no place for this to happen. Former President Trump has led the onslaught of lies. Assertions have been made that property is being confiscated. That's simply not true. They're saying people impacted by these storms will receive $750 in cash and no more. That's simply not true. They're saying the money is needed for this crisis is being diverted to migrants. What a ridiculous thing to say. It's not true. Now the claims are getting even more bizarre. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, a congresswoman of Georgia, is now saying the federal government is literally controlling the weather. We're controlling the weather. It's beyond ridiculous. It's got to stop. In moments like this, there are no red or blue states. There's one United States of America, where neighbors are helping neighbors. Volunteers and first responders are risking everything, including their own lives, to help their fellow Americans. State, local, and federal officials are standing side by side. Let me repeat, no one should make the American people question whether their governments will be making sure that this is acting on strikes. They'll be there. We will, all of us. I'm going to turn it over to Vice President Harris.
Dude, what a fucking insane state of affairs, dude. This country, like, we are... How the fuck did we make it this far, brother? Actually, how the fuck did we make it this far? We got one of the two major parties, like, unironically bouldering towards some of the most insane things. It is actually fucking insane. Things have gotten more insane than they... Things got significantly more insane in the last decade. I'm sorry. Straight up. Things were always pretty stupid here. You got those videos of motherfuckers being like, oh, well, if I can't drunk drive, then, you know, this is a nanny state, this is communism or whatever. Sure. Guys like that have always existed. But you can't tell me that those in positions of power genuinely using the bully pulpit and the opportunity that they have to talk to millions of Americans. I've never seen it like this, man. I've never seen it like this. Holy fuck. And it's not just Donald Trump. Before you say, oh, Donald Trump is the, like, he is a responsible party for this, for sure. He is absolutely responsible for a big chunk of this. But, like, the entire Republican Party is moving along with him.
Harris, if that's okay with all of you. Thank you. Madam Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Liz, thank you for the work that you have been doing. As the president said, we've been working around the clock to prepare for Hurricane Milton and to ensure that people are safe, including ensuring federal, state, and local resources are being coordinated in a smart and efficient and effective way. We have also been in constant contact with the leaders in Florida to make sure that we are cutting any red tape that might get in the way of getting relief to folks, to make sure also that communities receive the resources and the support that they need as quickly as possible. Already, we have sent more than 1,000 federal personnel to be on the ground in Florida to assist with what needs to happen in the state to prepare for this hurricane, and we will continue to scale up those efforts. To the people of Florida, and in particular, the people of the Tampa region, we urge you to take this storm seriously. As has been said before, this is a storm that is expected to be of historic proportion. And many of you, I know, are tough, and you've ridden out these hurricanes before. This one's going to be different. And so we ask you that by every measure, understand it's going to be more dangerous, more deadly, and more catastrophic. So please listen to your local officials. They know what they're talking about. They know what they're doing. And if you are told to evacuate, please evacuate immediately. Do not wait until it is too late. And in the hours and days ahead, President Biden and I and our administration will continue to do everything we can to protect the people who have been in the path of this storm. And once the storm has passed, we will be there to help folks recover and rebuild, as we continue to do for those communities in Florida, Georgia, North and South Carolina, and across the Southeast who have been devastated by Hurricane Helene. Finally, as the president mentioned, to any company that or individual that might use this crisis to exploit people who are desperate for help through illegal fraud or price gouging, whether it be at the gas pump, the airport, or the hotel counter, know that we are monitoring these behaviors and the situation on the ground very closely, and anyone taking advantage of consumers will be held accountable. The bottom line is this hurricane poses an extreme danger, and we urge everyone in Florida to take extreme caution. And we are with you, and we will get through this together.
What are you most worried about today and into tomorrow? And what messaging can we do to help people in the hours before it makes landfall?
Mr. President, the biggest concern is making sure people have gotten out of harm's way. Over the next 24 hours, we are going to see significant winds. We are going to see storm surge. We are going to see flooding from the rain. People need to be able to take this storm seriously. They need to move, if they still have time to move, out of harm's way. And we are prepared to support Florida with additional search and rescue assets to help save lives. That's our immediate concern, Mr. President, is saving lives over the next 24 hours.
Have you ever seen a storm like this one since you've been in charge?
I think this is going to be one of the biggest ones that we have seen after it makes landfall. I mean, we saw a lot of impact from Hurricane Ian, but this one is different. This one just looks different, and I think we're going to have a lot of impacts and people that are going to need our help, sir.
Well, thank you very much.
Administrator Criswell.
Yes, ma'am.
Are we concerned about any misinformation or disinformation regarding evacuations that we need to clear up at this point?
There's been a lot of misinformation out there, Madam Vice President, that's for sure. But I have not heard anything specific to the evacuations. I think that the local officials, the state officials have been very strong in getting that message out there and getting people to move out of harm's way. I was in Florida on Monday and met with the mayor of Tampa as well as the mayor of St. Petersburg, and we saw people evacuating. And so they are listening to their local officials, and that was encouraging.
That's great. Thank you.
The idea that sometimes it takes days for rivers to crest after a major storm like this. Are there any particular areas of concern that that are related to this type of flooding? And how long do you think the flooding conditions could last? In other words, I think people think once the winds are died down and have gotten through that, okay, we're all set. But these rivers flooding are consequential, and it takes time, right?
It takes time. That storm surge pushes up every nook and cranny of Florida. So it goes up bays, goes up rivers, it fills in all these areas. And then you add that incredible amount of rainfall, and that rain can't drain because the storm surge has it blocked. So just really looking at some of the areas in Hillsborough River, Alafaya River, the Peace River, some of these type of traditional places that could flood, we really got to watch those areas and those communities. So it takes quite a while for that water to drain.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Ken, I have a question for you. You mentioned words matter, and
You said, did you see the American journalist Jeremy Lafredo was kidnapped in Israel? He's my best friend. I didn't know. Yeah, I did hear about this. Yes. I did. I'm going to get to this in a little bit.
I know there's a lot of media following this briefing. So there have been, we've gone from a Cat 5 to a Cat 4, and the language that a lot of folks have been using is downgrade. But it sounds like you're cautioning us that that may communicate a sense that the danger is lessened when in fact it's not. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know a lot of folks are watching right now and would love to have your feedback on how we should be talking about this.
Yeah, we need everybody that communicates to the public to be on the same page with the words, because I've 30 years of doing this. I've seen this so many times. People will think, oh, it was a Cat 5, now it's a Cat 3. That's not a reason to relax. It's not weakened. That's not diminished. That means that we've expanded the wind field. The impacts don't change associated with that. And I've seen this in Hurricane Florence and other historic hurricanes. So we have to be mindful of the words that we use and focus on those impacts. Those impacts haven't changed no matter what the wind speed does over the next 24 hours.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you.
I want to get now to my colleague, Dana Bash. Dana, I understand that you got Vice President Harris on the phone.
That's right, Brianna. Thank you so much. Vice President Harris, I believe that you are now on the telephone fresh off of that briefing that we all saw here on CNN. Thank you so much for being here. What is the most important thing that you learned that you want to amplify for Americans who are in the path of this dangerous storm right now?
The briefing was very helpful on a number of fronts, but most importantly in getting the word out to folks in Florida in particular to please heed the advice and direction of your local officials, because this storm is unlike anything we have seen before, and that's the point of emphasis. This is unlike anything we have seen before. We got a lot of tough, strong people in Florida who have been through a lot of hurricanes, tornadoes, but this is not like anything they've dealt with before. So if they have been told to evacuate, they must evacuate.
By the way, if you want to know what housing deregulation in an effort to build 3 million additional units look like, Florida is a perfect example of housing deregulation in order to build additional units is. Just so you understand.
We expect that this is going to be catastrophic and deadly. And I would emphasize that. I would also emphasize the information that we received, that even if the designation of the category shifts from a 5 to 4, that's not actually a downgrade in terms of the danger and the dangerous potential of it. And so let's not have people rely to their detriment on, oh, this sounds like it's going to be less serious than we thought. They made very clear Category 5, Category 4 are almost equivalent in terms of the danger and the damage that they will create. So I would urge people to really take that information away, as well as to know there are dedicated folks on the ground from FEMA, from federal, state, and local agencies that are there to help you in terms of advice now, to help you get out, and to help with recovery and rebuilding after this storm and this hurricane passes.
And Madam Vice President, I just want to follow up on the FEMA readiness part of this discussion. We heard the Administrator Deanne Criswell say earlier today that the agency is down to $11 billion in disaster relief funding because it spent about $9 billion just over the last week. Are you confident FEMA has the resources to manage what we are, never mind what we're about to see in Florida, but of course, that's on top of Hurricane Helene 2 weeks ago?
FEMA absolutely has the resources that it needs now and to deal with this hurricane as it hits and the aftermath. And of course, we want Congress, when they come back, to do their job of making sure that they pass legislation to provide more aid, because again, this is really historic in terms of what we've seen. And so we do need to buff up the aid and assistance that we give FEMA, understanding that this is unusual and may be, sadly, the new normal.
But you don't believe that, because Congress is not in Washington.
The same kick streamer you saw earlier is literally doing the viewer meme and holding to a tree right now in a flood of water. He's gonna die. Just so you understand, that dude is going to die. He is filming his own death. That's why I haven't clicked on that link. Okay? I don't know why people are like, oh, I can't wait to see this guy die. Like, the fact that Kick didn't ban him already, knowing full well that he's going to die is shocking to me. Truly a morbid state of affairs. He might not actually be in Tampa. He could be in another city experiencing heavy rainfall. I hope.
Right now, you don't believe that they need to come back earlier in order to give FEMA more resources?
FEMA has what they need right now.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit more about what both you and President Biden talked about in this briefing, and each of you has talked about many times over the past few days, which is this dangerous misinformation that is coming from a lot of corners, including your opponent in the race for the White House. Several local Republican leaders have been pleading with them to stop. Have you spoken to GOP officials in Florida to figure out how to help combat that right now as it's about to get a whole lot worse?
Well, I'll tell you, I have spoken with local officials who have been struck, for example, by Hurricane Helene, and they are doing an extraordinary job in trying to combat the misinformation. And I'm talking about sheriffs, I'm talking about mayors, I'm talking about local officials. I don't even know their party affiliation, by the way, but leaders on the ground who know that it is not in the best interest of the people living in those areas to not know their rights, not to know what they're entitled to, and to be afraid of seeking help. It is dangerous. It is unconscionable, frankly, that anyone who would consider themselves a leader would mislead desperate people to the point that those desperate people would not receive the aid to which they are entitled. And that's why I call it dangerous. And we all know it's dangerous. And the gamesmanship has to stop. At some point, the politics have to end, especially in a moment of crisis, and the crises that we've been seeing affect so many people. I've met people who have lost family members through Hurricane Helene. We know the desperation and the fear that the folks who are attempting to evacuate Florida are experiencing. The last thing that they deserve is to have a so-called leader make them more afraid than they already are.
We have been fact-checking. In fact, just before you came on, we did so. My colleague Brianna Keeler, along with Daniel Dale and Priscilla Alvarez, are doing that, and we're continuing to do it. One of my sort of follow-up questions to that is about, we know what Republicans, many Republicans are saying that is just not true.
We've already approved emergency declarations for Florida. We have thousands of federal personnel on the ground. We've staged and are ready to go. We have 20 million meals, 40 million liters of water. At my direction, the Secretary of Defense, Austin, has pre-positioned search and rescue teams, helicopters, and high water speed vehicles as close to the storm as possible, so they're ready to conduct life-saving missions. And the administrator of FEMA will be on site tonight in Florida, and the state's Emergency Operations Center. Both Administrator Criswell and I will be in constant contact with state and local officials in the hours ahead. Once the storm hits, we're going to work with state officials to clear debris, restore power, and do it as fast as possible. The Army Corps of Engineers will pump out water and decrease flooding. We've already directed the Department of Defense to be ready to provide active duty service members to support Florida after the storm surge if Governor DeSantis requests the help, which I expect he might, just like we did in North Carolina. I have surged over 1,000 U.S. Coast Guard personnel to perform search and rescue missions and reopen the port of Tampa as soon as possible. Now, I want to reiterate a point.
Just got a shelter in place. No longer safe to be on the road alert. I'm in Sarasota, not in a mandatory evac zone, so staying home with my mom and dogs. I'm about half a block from the waterfront, but 20 feet above sea level, so should be safe from surge. Biggest concern is wind, but house is a 2 stories and solid concrete block. If it gets bad, got everything set up in a big closet with no exterior walls to hunker down in. Be safe, HasanAbi head. Good luck.
Americans are putting their lives at stake and putting on the line to do the dangerous work that needs to be done now. And it's
Sarasota is directly in the center, chatter. What do you mean not in a mandatory zone? I'm sure he knows better than we do. I don't know why he would not be in a mandatory evac zone, but worst things worse, dude, you could be on a boat, you know? You're in Florida. I suspect you have a jet ski or a boat. Just hop on it, you know? Ride it out. Lieutenant Dan style.
Either. They're saying that money needed for these crises are being diverted to migrants. What the heck are they talking about? Stop it. It's outrageous. It's just not true. Now the claims are getting even more bizarre.
Yeah, it's just not true. It's going to Israel instead.
Georgia is now saying the federal government is literally controlling the weather. We're controlling the weather. It's beyond ridiculous. It's so stupid. It's got to stop. Let me close with this. As difficult as these days and weeks have been, We've seen incredible courage by so many of our fellow Americans. I want to thank all the first responders for running toward danger instead of away from it, for saving lives and making a difference. FEMA personnel risking their lives, climbing on hillsides to reach people cut off by Helene. Army National Guard flying through the gale wind force that it's amazing what they're doing. Firefighters lifting collapsed wood and metal in an attempt to see if there are survivors, any survivors under the debris, risking their lives. Coast Guard teams rappelling from helicopters to rescue people and risking their own lives. And there are countless friends and neighbors who have sacrificed for the greater good. Volunteers leaving their own families behind to help search for someone else's family. Fellow Americans looking out for one another. That's America at its very best. That's who we are. So my final message tonight is to the people of Florida and all the impacted states. We've got your back. We've got your back. And Kamala and I will be there for as long as it takes to rescue, recover,
Is it true
and
that FEMA
rebuild.
funding is affected by Israel funding? No. FEMA does have a budget shortfall, which the federal government was aware of. They could have funded that. But overall, no. FEMA funds are done in Congress. There are different brackets for FEMA funding, disaster relief being the one that we're talking about here. The disaster relief funds outside of Donald Trump's administration when he was president have never been diverted into, at least under the Biden administration, towards like immigrant detention facilities. Donald Trump, on the other hand, has done that.
But I just find it, I know I've used the phrase more than I've used it ever in my whole career, un-American. It's un-American. It's not who the hell we are. What are they talking about?
Sir, have you considered calling him and asking him to stop doing that? To stop spreading this?
Come on.
Mr. President, does Governor DeSantis...
I was watching Disney adults streaming from the park until the minute it closed. It was dreary content, and yes, Disney made people today. Gates didn't close until 2 p.m. Disney made people work today.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I think that's important.
Can you say that Florida has everything it needs for the storm? How was your call with Netanyahu today?
We didn't talk about the storm.
Thanks for the answer.
Shift. Just in the last 2 minutes before we came back from break, suddenly the Manatee River is now churning. We had seen some white caps on some water, but I mean, these are now these are now waves churning on the Manatee River, and the water is really starting to come over. I mean, you can see it now just running. This is all water, both from the river and also water coming from higher
Think he has an 8:30 p.m. Eastern update incoming. If you want to know what he just looks, bro, he said the ground is wet. Okay. Like, I'm not exactly, look, I'm not the biggest media critic when it comes to how people report on the ground, but goddamn, dude. My man said, look at the trees. Normally they would be branches on top of the tree, and here they are on the ground that is wet as a consequence of the rain that is falling on it.
Breaking out everywhere. We have reporters fanned out across the storm zone, across Florida. Anderson, you're in Bradenton, Florida. We were just looking at you and the Manatee River, as clearly you're just seeing how much this is developing nearly by the minute. Yeah, Caitlin, it has really changed. I mean, really, in the 2 minutes or so that you've been speaking, it's changed a lot. I mean, again, these storms are just so strange and so unpredictable. When you're on the ground, you know, you think the eye made landfall down probably about 15 or so minutes ago south of Sarasota. It seemed like things were calming down here a little bit, but boy, wow, the water now is just slamming into the Riverwalk here in Bradenton. This, I mean, I don't know, Neil, if you can see this. I mean, it's like the ocean here, this river now, all of a sudden. Bill, how are things in St. Petersburg?
So if you wanted to, oh, it is getting rough here, Anderson. It is getting so much more violent just in the last few minutes since I talked to you. We're sort of pinned down in the corner of this building, at the corner of First and University. Just howling, freight train wind
He's like,
gusts.
Anderson, we need evac right now.
Deluge that's fallen here. 5 inches in 3 hours. We're expecting another 5 in the next couple hours. So the freshwater flooding that's happening here, I can't help think about all those souls who went through Helene, who already had to deal with moldy drywall, and now this is going to cause so much heartache. There must be so much stress across Florida tonight. And these tornadoes, there's no good day for a tornado to hit your house, but the worst day is when it happens right in front of a hurricane like this. And a lot of those folks evacuated from the coast inland. There was that big one over by Fort Pierce, and these supercells that are more common in Texas and Kansas have been kicked up by this storm here. We're also wondering, speculating, there's one set of headlights over there. I wonder if somebody was driving and now they're just sort of frightened and frozen in place, waiting for things to happen. To give you some perspective, the coast is this way. The winds are coming, ripping down First Avenue, and the municipal boat basin and the yacht club is that way. I'm certain we're going to wake up in the morning and see some of those boats on the street, whether they will be put there by the wind, but the storm surge in this part of Tampa Bay, we're in the bottom, sort of the entry point on the northern side. Over across the bay we had is Tampa.
Yeah,
I just heard in my ear.
I gotta show.
Surrey just read a text
show our
to me
viewers here.
from the great Brandon Miller, our meteorologist,
Neil,
who says that this just
Neil, this is the winds have really picked up. The water's really moving. You can get a sense of just how fast the wind is moving there. You can see it in the light there. It is now just whipping off the Manatee River. It's coming in from kind of the north, I guess, northeast, and the water now is really.
They just cut his ass off. He said, "Yo,
whoa." Okay, that wasn't good. We'll probably go inside shortly, but you can see the amount of water here on the ground. This is water from the Manatee River. It's also water coming from the land as well. But as I don't know if you can turn, Neil. Take
That's
a look
crazy.
at this. There's a bridge over there. I've seen some emergency vehicles going across the bridge over the last hour or so. It looks like there's one about to come across. But you can really get a sense of just how much that water is coming on shore now. Let's check in with Brian Todd. Brian, where are you exactly?
Is Anderson Cooper a little bit neurodivergent? Like, he's a little neurospicy, right? He touched the water. Like, that's some shit I would do. Okay. I feel like that's crazy that he did that. He was like, wow, you can see the water on the ground. And he literally touched it. Like, he kneeled down to touch the water. Are these reporters going to be okay? Yes.
Whipping around. There is a lot of debris on the road. That is another big part of the story.
Lights are going out.
You've heard the mayor, Jane Castor, say that the contractors didn't show up to pick up the debris from Hurricane Helene. We've had debris flying around this area too. That is a danger. But right now, it is just the sheer volume of water that is hitting us right now that is dangerous. Drains are overflowing. Sewers are overflowing.
Just like Dan Aykroyd, Anderson Cooper, those with disabilities can't work. More firms should hire them.
Warnings around here as well. And again, the wind is just really just pounding us.
Wait.
Here. And what's also, as you've been describing,
what's Anderson Cooper's disability?
The wind does tend to switch directions quickly. Like right now, we're getting hit from my right side to my left. Just extremely violent gusts of wind, but then it'll kind of whip around in another direction, and you don't really know where it's coming from.
Being
the city
gay?
is really getting hit, I believe, with the worst of it right now. If it's not at the peak, it's got to be near that point right now. I know that Mayor Castor said that maybe by 2 a.m., much of this will have passed, but that's a long way to go for these people. You're talking another 5 hours here during conditions like this. It is not safe out here. First responders cannot come out of
his
this stuff
disability
right now.
to get this
They say
bread,
45
dude.
miles an hour winds or higher. They cannot go out and rescue people. We are pretty much at that point, Anderson. The bridges around here are completely closed, impassable. these roads are starting to flood. And again, anyone who ventures out in this right now, in a vehicle or otherwise, is really running a risk.
Yeah, you can. There's. Let me just grab this here. So yeah, like stuff is just this. Literally, this came from the river. Thankfully, it's just styrofoam. I'll try to put it down over here. Try to get that behind a tree.
What? Who cares, bro? It's gonna fly away. Just toss it.
Stuff that's in the river itself, ripping up and then getting airborne.
What is he doing?
So we'll probably move. We have basically, when you do this kind of stuff, you have several fallback locations. So we have several fallback locations, which we'll probably shortly go to. But this is interesting. This is the first time. So now the water's really come over the Riverwalk. And the water's now kind of staying on the Riverwalk, but it's also now washing up to this sandy area, which is about 10 feet or 15 feet or so from the edge, the river's edge. So it is definitely really picking up now. Yeah, obviously it is. I also just saw again, a very distinctive flash of blue light, probably some sort of power outage. I don't know, Neil, if... I'm sorry, who? Let's check in. You can really see it. I mean, this wind it's picking up this water and it's just moving this water. Carlos Suarez in Fort Myers. Carlos, what are you seeing there?
Well, Anderson, it's a bit difficult to hear you. The wind really has not let up here in Fort Myers, and we're starting to see the worst flooding this entire night. At this point, where I'm standing is parallel to the Caloosahatchee River, and you're not going to be able to see from where you obviously where my camera is. But just up the street here, I can see where the Caloosahatchee.
They should put Anderson's ass in these situations all the time,
all
bro.
of this water out from the river.
Ship his ass to Beirut right now. I want to see him do real-time coverage from under Israeli rocket fire. He is hilarious.
During Hurricane Ian, the storm surge out here was about 10 to 11 feet in terms of flooding. We don't expect that kind of number because the storm is now to the north of us, but we're still looking at probably 7 to 8, if not 9 feet of flooding. And it's something that has started to materialize out on Fort Myers Beach to the west of here, the southwest of here, where we're looking at about 5 to 6 feet of a storm surge right now. And then out in Naples and Collier County, which is about an hour south of where we are, we're also looking at floodwaters there at about the 4 or 5 foot mark. As you can see, just from when I started, there's a bit of the break here, but what's happening...
It's so funny how much more informative every other fucking anchor is. Like, you go back to them and they're like giving you real-time information. Like, they're obviously a producer's in their ear being like, here's what's going on, or they're just trying to remember and repeat whatever they fucking heard in an effort to be as informative as possible. You go back to Anderson Cooper and it's like, I'm touching a styrofoam on the ground. As you can see, this is the Manatee River water and the land water, a different type of water that you normally see inside of the Manatee River.
Continues on its track north, and then you've got all of the flooding, you've got all of the rain out by Lake Okeechobee and even central parts of Florida, and so all of that water is coming in from the central part of Florida, and then you've got all of that water coming in from the Gulf of Mexico. Blasted. And when all of that comes together,
this is what
blasted. This is how it's going to be for the next several hours, and we haven't even figured in a high tide yet. That's going to happen around 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. So when all those three things happen, it's going to be a pretty ugly situation for the folks that live here in Fort Myers. And this is not going to get better over the next couple of hours. It's not going to get better until probably tomorrow morning, once high tide kind of loosens up a bit and some of this water starts to recede. But I was here 2 years ago for Hurricane Ian. This is kind of what happened then. That was
Anderson Cooper confirmed, not an outside gay. Okay, he's an indoor gay.
About the storm surge, Anderson.
If you're wet, they're wet.
I'm very curious to know,
bring your indoor gays inside immediately.
Along the speed of these winds is going to continue for in this area, because it is it's really picked up. It is continuing. We're now kind of just moving back away from the edge of the river, wisely, and
wisely.
I think this location is still okay for right now. but it's a significant amount of water. I'm just stunned at how much the
Oh shit. Oh.
Anderson's shot there as you can see the Manatee River. It's getting worse by the moment as you are watching all of this. What's remarkable is you are seeing all of these different live shots from where Anderson is, from where Carlos Suarez is, from where Bill Lear is.
No! No!
We're seeing the consequences of this
I
storm
told you.
as it is making landfall here.
I told you, you need to bring that's not an outdoor gay, that's an indoor gay. They killed him.
That have been spawned as a result of this storm. CNN's Chad Myers is in the Weather Center. And Chad, obviously we are watching this very closely. A lot of people still hunkering down who did not get out of this. Tell us where this storm is right now, because just seeing every single live shot, it's remarkable how they all are really experiencing similar conditions as they're deteriorating so quickly.
Yeah, and what's remarkable, Kaylin, is that the storm, all of this water that you see coming from the sky is on the north side of the eye. All the surge that we talked about is on the south side of the eye, from Punta Gorda back to Naples and to our reporter there in Fort Myers. But here's what's going on. The northern part of the eye is still very filled with rain and convection.
Stinky update.
Nothing really going on down here except some wind pushing the water onshore.
The
so
outbreak
Anderson Cooper right there, Bill
of
Weir
tornadoes
right
that have been
here
happening
St.
today is
Pete,
historic and will likely
Brian
continue.
Todd
Flooding is
Tampa,
expected in the northern part of the
hour
peninsula
after
from
hour
10
worth
inches of rain.
now still to
Significant
come, and
surges
they've already had
expected
6 to 10 inches
to build in
on
portions of
the
Tampa Bay
ground
throughout Venice,
that
along
has
with Fort
already
Myers.
fallen. Another
Peak
6 to
surge
10
expected
will likely fall
to reach
in
13
this
feet.
wind warning, where winds have been gusting over 100 miles per hour at times. The good news is, talked about the tornadoes, they are offshore. They have moved away from Florida. They were right along that I-95
The reason why I asked
corridor earlier today. But we are still seeing the wind.
Stinky, the reason why I asked is because it's like we were trying to figure out if it's supposed to be worse. It's supposed to be worse by now or not. Like, in terms of the storm surge, because like right now there's a lot of areas that are impacted, but the storm surge is not as devastating. I mean, it's still pretty bad, but the question was, is this expected or is this better than expected? Okay, they put no, that Lieutenant Dan story is from earlier and it was not correct. Lieutenant Dan is still on the boat.
Tell us what you're seeing right now.
Yeah, no question about that, Caitlin. The storm surge is part of the reason we moved away from where we've been going live all day. The actual water hitting the seawall at Tampa Bay was starting to get too intense. You pair that with stronger and stronger wind. The rainfall you just heard Chad outline, we're anticipating up to more than a foot of rainfall in the Tampa area. It's already seen 6 inches coming through the evening. It's about to get 5 to 8 more. There's no doubt that is going to cause intense flooding. Where I am now, we're experiencing very, very heavy bands of wind. It is literally shaking me. It's moving me around. The temperature has also dropped significantly, so it's gotten quite a bit colder. I'm staring down the street at a residential area where the water appears to be slowly creating larger and larger puddles. As the rain continues to go down, there is no doubt that this area is going to flood. There's a significant amount of tree cover. You can expect branches will come down. We're already seeing them come down. We've also seen the power take several hits in this area.
Are they not allowed to use an umbrella in a hurricane? Dog, you would lose it in like 3 seconds. It would just fucking fly away. What do you mean? Yeah, it would be great. I brought my umbrella to the hurricane and it immediately lobotomized my camera guy. It flew out of my hand and beamed directly into the fucking frontal lobe of my cameraman. His personality has changed dramatically.
Made landfall. I've been watching folks throughout the day. There were a lot of residents earlier in the day that were walking around trying to get a glimpse of what was happening during the storm, during this intense rainfall and heavy wind. There are fewer of them this evening, but there are still folks out there. Officials want them to know it is best to stay indoors at this time because we are likely to see very intense flash flooding, not to mention debris flying around, Caitlin, from Hurricane Helene that's been left over these past 2 weeks.
All right, Boris, we'll continue to check in with you. We're watching all of this playing out. We're seeing the elements of this storm right now. You're seeing an airplane that has been flipped over completely by...
Chat, don't laugh. Airplanes only do that when they're in extreme distress. That's not good for the airplane.
Continuing to grow by the hour. What you're looking at right now is in Venice, Florida. I should note, we're checking in with all of our reporters throughout this hour, making sure that they're staying safe. We're going to reestablish with Anderson, as you saw him in Bradenton, Florida. I want to go now to Randy Kay. She's in Sarasota. Randy Kay, obviously you were seeing debris itself start to fly earlier from a ceiling fan from a house, I believe, and other aspects of this. That was a huge concern that officials had, this coming so quickly after Helene. What are you seeing right now in Sarasota?
Yeah, absolutely, Caitlin. There's debris that, of course, became projectiles, and that's scattered all over these neighborhoods. But we are just about 20 minutes or so from Siesta Key, where Hurricane Milton made landfall, just near Siesta Key, so very close to where the storm came across. And when we were in the eye, Caitlin, it was so tranquil here. The birds started to come out. There wasn't any wind. There wasn't any rain. There were bugs and birds, and you could hear the frogs out. Now the eye has passed, and we are now back in the thick of it. We do expect that this is going to get much worse for us. We're going to see more wind. We're going to see more rain. We had wind gusts of about 73 miles per hour here. We're just near Sarasota Airport. But when we were seeing the worst of it, this fence came down, 3 panels of this fence near this neighbor's house here. And this tarp, this white tarp, I'm not sure if you can see that, Caitlin, it was going this way. It was blowing this way when the wind was really bad. And then it was on the ground for a while during when the eye was over us, when we were in the eye. And now, because the eye has passed us, the wind has actually changed direction. So now it's actually blowing the other way. That is what's happened here. So we do expect that when we see high tide around 4:30 in the morning, that is going to bring some of the storm surge over this way. We are about half a mile or so from the water. So we do expect, as I said, conditions to worsen, and we will stay here for it. Caitlin?
All right, Randy Kay, we'll continue to check in with you in Sarasota. Thank you for that. Right now on the phone joining me is Florida Senator Rick Scott. And Senator, thank you for being here. You were governor of Florida. You've dealt with a lot of storms like this in your home state. What are you most concerned about right now as this storm is making landfall?
Well, number one is people that didn't evacuate that should have. We can't take care of them now. And what happens often is people say, oh, gosh, this is really getting bad. So then they want to leave. Unfortunately, you got flooding, you got trees down, you got power lines down. As you know, we've had unbelievable number of tornadoes around the state today. So you have no choice. You have to stay in place now, and you have to hunker down, and you have to keep yourself alive.
Oh, God, the demon.
I worry about our first responders that want to go out and help these people, and they have to put their lives on the line. But they do it because they want people to be safe, to be saved. So, and then I worry about when as this passes, all the problems. We're going to have trees down. We're going to lose a lot of power. We're going to, and then I worry about, are people going to go outside before it's safe and they're going to be around trees are going to fall because we are saturated with water. Are they going to touch down power lines? Are they going to
copied your style and got
not
flame.
know how it works? Are they going to use a power saw and not know how it works? So you just worry that
not everybody can pull it off.
Just look at what happens. One, unfortunately, people don't get out of harm's way.
But Lolo's pulling it off.
Number two is afterwards they make foolish decisions. But on top of that, today we've had horrible tornadoes around the state. I've talked to a lot of sheriffs and mayors all day today about the tornadoes, and my heart goes out to everybody going through this right now. I'm a little bit further south. I'm in Naples, Florida, and I evacuated away from I was in an evacuation zone, which I hope everybody did.
So you had to evacuate, Senator.
That where I live, it's safe.
He doesn't live in a house. He lives in a fucking cocoon. So he's safe.
Evacuate, and so I'm hoping that everybody around me evacuated. I'm hoping it's not as bad as they anticipated. We're supposed to get 5 days for the storm surge and a lot of flooding, so I hope it's not going to be that bad. But these are deadly storms, and so I'm going to do everything I can to keep people focused and keep people alive.
And Senator, what you just talked about there, the tornadoes that we saw hitting parts of this state that that weren't even under, full evacuation orders. Maybe people who were living in mobile homes were told to evacuate and get somewhere safer. I mean, these tornadoes that were hitting, some of them near the Palm Beach area, where in St. Lucie County, where we've seen these fatalities. Have you ever seen over 100 tornado warnings, 19 confirmed tornadoes as a part of a hurricane that you're dealing with?
No, we've had tornadoes like when Michael in 2018. We had a lot of tornadoes that spawned off as it went up through Panama City, but not like this and not this far away. We've had rain bands this far away, that far away before, but tornadoes we've not had that. And so I talked to sheriffs and mayors in the where they had tornadoes, and it was a scary, scary time. We had so many tornadoes. So I could feel it in people's voices, how concerned they were, some for their own life and some for, the people they take care of.
Yeah, Senator, obviously we are thinking of everyone in your home state tonight as they are just trying to survive this. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to talk to you more about that FEMA funding and recovery after this in the future. So thank you, Senator Rick Scott.
Thanks, Caitlin. Bye-bye.
And I do want to note for everyone watching who is very concerned, obviously, about all of our correspondents and anchors on the ground, Anderson is okay, just obviously, understandably difficult to establish a connection when you're seeing what's happening with the wind and the rain and obviously the deteriorating conditions by the minute. We are going to check with him later on this hour. Right now, that plane video that I just showed you in Venice, Florida, that was shot by Jonathan Petramala, who is a storm chaser in Florida, and he's joining me now. Jonathan, just tell me, I mean, this is a remarkable image and just speaks to what we are seeing, watching
they got
this
storm
live
chasers
right
on
now.
CNN.
Tell me what you've been seeing out on the ground in Florida.
The strongest part of where we've been in the storm has been on this backside of the eye after it passed on shore. It's made landfall just to the north of where we are. We're in Venice, Florida. So we have a couple situations happening here. You have the wind shifting to be directly onshore here. And what that's doing, clearly, it's strong enough to knock over a flipped plane upside down like this. Also knocking down trees, power lines.
Holy fuck, look at
There was a
Sarasota.
staccato of popping from all of the power lines blasting off earlier and breaking. And then, of course, you have the storm surge. That's really beginning to pour in.
Wait, isn't that one of the islands?
Near where we are here at the Venice airport.
Anderson Cooper's back. Oh, thank God.
Now it's 1.1 million homes and businesses that don't have power in Florida right now.
Yeah, there have been electrical explosions really for the last 2 hours all over
Thank
the
God
place.
Anderson's alive,
Skies,
Chad.
I mean, this is common. This happens all the time. The sky just lights up with this very eerie blue light. Let's go to, to Boris Sanchez, who's standing by in Tampa. Boris, I mean, it has gotten really bad here just in the last 40 minutes, 30 minutes or so. How are things where you are?
Yeah, Anderson, there's no question that there has been a serious intensification of the storm in just the last half hour or so. The wind is much stronger than it's been at any point throughout the day. The rain is coming down significantly harder. It is a massive amount of water. There are trees. There's one off to my left that has been making noise all night, and it is seeming...
We lost them.
Did we lose Boris? Okay, I think we lost Boris just for now. We'll try to get contact. It's very hard maintaining. Obviously, we're working off cell towers. We're working off a variety of technology just to try to stay on air, just to give you a sense of how the power of this storm. It's so strange because about an hour ago, maybe it was an hour and a half ago, I think a lot of people maybe who were staying at home looking out their windows had this sense of like, oh, things are it's not as bad as maybe some people had thought it was going to be. You know, it was downgraded from, it was a Cat 5 out there in the Gulf, then it was a Cat 3 when it came on shore. It may be a Cat 3, but that is a really, really strong storm. And you can feel the power of it out here right now. It's been, I don't know, 10 or so years since I've really done a lot of hurricane coverage. I've experienced whiteout conditions a couple of times in the height of a storm. We're not there yet. We may not get there, but it is close to, at least in this area, there is so much rain and wind and water in the air, the sky almost looks white. It's a very eerie and strange thing. Carlos Suarez is in Fort Myers. I want to check in with him. He is south of me in Fort Myers, which was very badly hit, obviously, in Hurricane Ian. 150 people were killed in that storm. Wow. It is, Carlos, what is it like where you are?
Anderson, the wind really is not letting up at this point here in Lee County, across parts of Fort Myers, where we are at this hour. We're looking at gusts of anywhere between 50 to 60 miles per hour. And so what's happening right now is the flooding is really the big issue for parts of Southwest Florida. This storm, the hurricane, has made landfall.
He's still picking up shit, bro. He won't stop picking up shit. He's gonna keep picking shit up.
Located. What we're experiencing south of you guys is the storm surge.
Stinky says, regarding the storm surge, I do believe it will get worse with the back wall of water from the storm smacking the shit out of these areas before Milton. Regarding the storm surge, I do believe it'll get worse.
Blended into this street. There's really no way to know exactly where the river kind of stands because the pier, the beached area over there, that's at this point all of the water is just coming through on this side. As you talked about Hurricane Ian 2 years ago, this part of Fort Myers saw a storm surge with a direct landfall of about 10 feet. Of course, we're not going to see those kind of numbers because the storm is already to the north of us, but the next couple of hours are really going to be difficult, and they're going to be telling because that storm surge could be anywhere between 8 to 9 to 10 feet. And we're not going to really get a sense of just how much of this flooding is going to happen until tomorrow morning, because that's when we expect high tide to take place. That's when we expect all of the flooding from parts of central Florida to make its way down the Caloosahatchee River where I'm at. And then that's kind of what you're seeing here. I've been describing it as a confluence of forces where you have the water from the Gulf of Mexico rushing in through the river out here, and then you've got all of the rain and you've got all of the flooding from canals and rivers and from the central part of Florida, and that water has to go somewhere. And at some point, when it can't go out into the Gulf because of the storm and it can't go inland, it's got to make its way just blocks in. That was really the concern for folks coming into the storm, is they knew that this part was going to flood. And at this point, Anderson, it's flooded at this point. I'd imagine, as far as I can see into downtown Fort Myers, at this point, it's just become almost a large pool, if you will. It's really just running parallel to the river, and it's at times a little bit difficult to make out where the river is. Anderson?
Carlos, I'm going to go back inside in just a minute. I want to go back to Caitlin right now. Caitlin?
Yeah, Anderson, obviously stay safe. Everyone is watching you, and just want to make sure you get into a safe position. We'll check back in with you as soon as you do. We're watching, obviously, where Anderson is in Bradenton, Florida. You can see how much that wind is picking up. This has all happened in just the last 35 minutes. When we checked in with Anderson about half an hour ago as he was standing near.
You please keep checking back. He's hilarious.
Pick up, start to churn. Now, of course, you're seeing this right now, Anderson. We want to make sure you're in a safe place. We are going to continue with our breaking news coverage. We are live in Tampa next, where you are only seeing surges of that water start to take over as the wind is also picking up. We're going to check in also with the mayor of St. Petersburg. That's where waves are crashing ashore.
Yo, Anderson Cooper being the primary anchor on the ground on this has made this coverage so much funnier in ways that I did not think could happen. Like, he is basically the reason why I love Jeff over at Twister Chasers is because he's a confident man, he's a chaotic man, and he's just a bit of a boomer who kind of sticks out. Okay, he's got the bravery, but also his style is hilarious. Anderson Cooper is demonstrating that same thing, but in like an even funnier way, because he's so out of place. Like it literally feels like watching Mr. Bean. It feels like some old school slapstick comedy. Emma just posted this. Pray for a friend. You have to see this live cam from Tampa. Buildings destroyed is crazy. Kitten room webcam. The Humane Society of Tampa Bay. What? Are you fucking crazy? Well, it's dead. The kittens are too. Read Timmer update. Storm surge invading Venice, Florida with Hurricane Milton. We are expecting 8 to 10 feet of storm surge here with a wraparound.
Be careful! Be careful!
All the kittens were wiped out. They're literally in this storm surge right now, chat. Sorry to report. This gives me no it gives me no pleasure to tell you this, but all the kittens are actually in the fucking storm surge right now.
Bro, it's coming! That is coming! Here it comes!
Okay, this guy is out of his fucking mind, bro. This guy, now I get why Reed brought him on board. He's insane. He literally is just like dick deep in dookie water, dude.
Wow! Just got deep!
That sounds weird as fuck.
That's good! That's coming! That's coming! It'll suck you out! Let's get out of here!
Please, trigger warning about animal abuse is not on your list of stream triggers. I can't tell if this chatter is joking or not. What the fuck is a stream trigger?
There! Wow!
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, like there's bacteria crawling up your penis hole right now. Okay, when you're in there. Thank God the cats are gonna be okay.
It's guys saw it! It gets very dark, very deep as you get a little. Very scary too, right? You can hear the wave action. Oh, just hit my bean leg. Whoa! Beat that deep. Watch the steps. Watch the steps. Here we go.
I've never made a joke in my life. Okay. So I have a dumb question. Aren't there any potentially gators in the water? Dude, I feel like there's not gators in the water while all this shit's happening. They probably would not. They'd probably be too busy trying to survive because unlike human beings, they have a sense of like security. They have an interest in like preserving their livelihood and their lives, you know? Human beings have no care or consideration. They do not have survivor instinct, especially white human beings. Like you'll see videos later. You'll see videos later of gators definitely in the water in like people's homes and shit. But right now, while all this shit is happening, they're probably too busy trying to fucking survive. You know what I mean? They're too busy trying to survive to like bite people is what I'm saying. They also probably sense that something is afoot. In this circumstance, what you should be more worried about is like stepping on like a piece of metal that is rusty or shards of glass that are going to cut your fucking leg as you are surrounded by every type of bacteria. Getting sucked into like a sewage drain if the cap is open. like lacerations, infections, all matter of different disease. That is, I think, at this stage, significantly more damaging and scarier than fucking gators. Gators will come later.
Me on the ground here in Bradenton, they were expecting as much as 9 feet of storm surge, but at least I
do
believe
gators
at
live in
least
the
6
ocean?
inches.
Some do. They're the scariest. Saltwater crocodiles, I think, not gators, are the scariest ones, right?
I do want to check in with Bill Weir, who's up in St. Petersburg. Bill, we don't have Bill, I think, at this point.
Bill's
but
dead.
Caitlin, it is.
I got you, Anderson.
Okay, we
I
do
got
have
you.
Bill. All right, Bill, let's go.
Hello.
How are things? How are things, Bill?
Against all odds, Anderson, you got Bill Weir. Against 9 inches of rain in 3 hours is what this city is experiencing right now. Just get a look at what that looks like. Just coming down harder than any shower in any spa that you've ever been to. Look at this. It's just pounding. Freshwater rain now rushing down the avenues where it's sort of a higher elevation. You can see the water moving on the streets here in St. Petersburg. But just torrential rain and the wind. I'm not sure if you can hear the howl now. It's been sort of in and out. But I'm going to shut up for a second. Just listen.
Why is this guy
That is
so poetic?
the soundtrack, and depending on where you are in this city, there's car alarms by all these vehicles that were parked high to keep them out of the flood zone. It's going off as they're being rocked by the wind here. It's hard to know what's happening just to our left. That's the boat basin. The harbor is just down the street here, and we didn't want to venture out in the vehicles for obvious reasons, trying to be a little bit cautious, but no telling. We were down there just at sunset at 7 o'clock, and the waves are just starting to pound over the seawall. So many boats left in the harbor, so many of those boats uninsured. First light will reveal so much about what went on here, but what strikes me is much the way that Hurricane Helene picked up trillions of gallons of water and dumped them inland, hundreds of miles from the coast. This storm is moving so much water across the entire peninsula, and the water is so the ground is so saturated.
Anderson's like, what the fuck are you saying, Bill? I'm getting smacked around out here, motherfucker. Shut up.
We're over 1 million customers without power in the state of Florida already, and miraculously here in St. Petersburg we still have it. But this is going to be a mess in the morning. Anderson?
Bill, thanks. We're going to check in with you throughout the night. I mean, this thing it's really changing, every couple of minutes. It's very unpredictable, Caitlin. It's fascinating to see it up close.
Yeah, he had no input. He's like, yeah, shut the fuck up, Bill. All right, Caitlin, take it away.
I'm glad that there are a number of shelters here in Bradenton. People, I talked to a number of officials in various counties. People really seem to have heeded a lot of the evacuation warnings, and that is, when you see the power of this storm right now, that is certainly good news. You can see power where we're at is flickering on and off, but it's a very dynamic situation here right now.
And Anderson, everyone's tweeting at me asking about your safety, everyone's safety. Obviously,
but did I know? Because I'm hard-headed.
Let us know.
Well, my house is currently flooding.
Biden was speaking with a bunch of the mayors in the areas that are expected to be hardest hit before Milton made landfall. Were the officials that you spoke with today surprised by how quickly this got moved up? Because at about lunchtime today, we didn't expect this to hit until 11 p.m. and then it was moved up to 8. And now, of course, we're seeing it in full force right now where you are.
Yeah, this storm has changed really fast a number of times. I mean, as you remember, it went from a
Hey, Hasan, I know a lot of bad shit's going on, but I wanted to let you know I made the pilgrimage to Thailand's Khao Kiao Zoo, home of our goat Moodang. I will report back when it's bath time for her, and I have video for you in chat. Oh my God! Oh my God! That's amazing. That's amazing. That's incredible. You are so lucky. Holy shit.
It's been a really surprising couple of hours here. And I'm very curious to hear from officials their vantage point.
Bermuding.
It's really picking up. You know what, Caitlin, I want to check in with Randy Kay, who's in Sarasota. Randy, how are things?
Anderson, things have certainly deteriorated since you and I last spoke. We were sort of in the eye and then on the back side of the eye, and things had really calmed down. And then once the eye passed and the back side of the eye passed, things had really started to get much worse here. So we are now experiencing those very high winds that we were talking about. I know you were talking about finding a place for safety, making sure that nothing is flying around in the air. We're doing the same thing here. I'm keeping an eye here on this last piece of fence that you can see that's standing. That's in the house next door to us where we are. These other two.
Bath time for Mudang, much better than bath time for Anderson Cooper. Okay.
And when the eye passed Anderson, it's really interesting because this white tarp that has been blowing here behind us all night because it broke free, it was blowing in that direction. And now when the eye passed and the wind direction changed, it's now blowing in this direction, that way. So we'll see if it actually breaks free. There are some power lines down. We've lost power in the place that we are staying. And the winds are just extremely, extremely strong. We're experiencing rains, but the winds is really what it is. It's like a punch to the gut when it gets you just at that right moment. So we're doing our best to stay safe, as you are, of course, Anderson.
Good. All right, Randy, we'll check in with you. Let's go to Brian Todd in Tampa. Brian, where are you?
Anderson, we're in downtown Tampa on Howard Avenue. I can just tell you that this storm is now, it is relentless, it is violent, and it is dangerous out here. Just take a look at how I'm getting just slammed from my left side. The wind is blowing horizontally, the rain is horizontal. I even noticed a little bit of, sometimes the rain seems like it's blowing upward. It's just getting so violent out here. We've heard Bill and everybody talk about the figures here. 9 inches of rain in 3 hours, 3 months worth of rain in 3 hours is what that translates to. We're not even in one of those zones where they had mandatory evacuations. Now, if they had known that this was going to be this violent in this neighborhood of Tampa, they may have made for a mandatory evacuation here, but they did not. Still, there is nobody out here now because it is simply too dangerous to be out here. This road is starting to flood, and the flooding is going to get much worse because this water basically has nowhere to go, Anderson.
Well, and Brian Todd, it's Caitlin here. I want to read an update that we just got from the Florida Division of Emergency Management that is notable, and they're telling people do not walk out into the receding water of Tampa Bay because this is essentially a reverse storm surge, and they're saying that this water will come back. It does pose.
Florida motherfuckers did that too. I love that there's just like random people walking in the background quietly and gently as though nothing is afoot, as though nothing is happening. But yeah, it is the most Florida thing to just like walk directly into the fucking water.
It's interesting how they were so worried about storm surge here in Tampa. And even in the last few hours when they said, okay, well, the storm surge is not going to be as bad as we thought. Well, look, that's no consolation here. Because this water just has nowhere to go just because of the rainfall, not because of the storm surge. And when the storm surge comes back, if you can just get a sense of how bad it is out here, you know how bad it's going to be when that storm surge returns. I mean, drains are overflowing, canals are overflowing here. Everything is just overflowing. And I'm not even sure I know where this water is going to go at this point. So it's just, if this isn't the peak, I don't know just how bad the peak is going to be here in Tampa.
Yeah, it is a triple threat of this storm. Brian Todd, please stay safe. We're going to check back in with you as we are watching what is happening in Tampa and with all of our reporters on the ground. We'll continue with our special coverage here. We're going to be joined by the head of FEMA with the latest response and what they are seeing happening on the ground in Florida after a quick break.
Damn, they had the graphics package ready to go too, locked in. Wild backside winds, 100, 110 miles in between buildings in downtown Sarasota. Traffic light flew off the pole in front of me. Water rising in downtown. Debris flying like missiles. Oh shit, look at that. Wait, what the fuck was that? Oh, it's just a car. More hurricane deaths in 2024 than 2023 and 2022 combined now officially. Wait, new J. Cole song. No, oh my God, hold the phone, dude. If this is a poop sock, I'm gonna fucking nuke you out of orbit. Short explanation of Tampa sword storm not being as bad.
The trade-off for Tampa here has been, the storm surge is not going to be nearly as bad as what it could have been if the storm went a little bit farther to the north for Tampa. But the trade-off is now this stationary rain band that's going to cause catastrophic flash flooding. So, unfortunately for Tampa, obviously, you can pick which one of those you would rather be a part of. It depends on where you live, I guess. But it's kind of a lose-lose situation here.
This didn't really explain my question. Actual Mudang bath time video. That's insane. Y'all are fucked for that. Wait, he's just been quiet this whole time?
Hurricane Milton is the third Florida landfalling hurricane this year. 2024 has now tied with 1871, 2004, and 2005 for the most Florida landfalling hurricanes in a single season.
Downtown Tampa at the moment before the Hurricane Milton hits. He's currently on lap 4. He got a better quiet mic than you. That it is like watching your stream sometimes with peace and love. Okay, bro, chill. I have some quiet moments, but I'm eyewall 2 of 2.
I can't see very good. It's spread. I wonder what. Man, where are you? Document
The fuck?
the stuff for you guys. We're out here so you don't have to be out here. And because we low-key want to be. Not saying you want to be, but I'll tell you what, I want to be here. We do. I mean, this is literally what I live for. It's just chasing storms, man. Preferably tornadoes. Preferably tornadoes, but hurricanes will do. I also live for my YouTube channel too, and entertaining you guys, because like both of those things are true at the same time. That is a good shot over there, isn't it?
Damn, my chatters never do this. Look at this. This guy gave him $500 and he was like, for an electric chainsaw, brother, for when you want to use in the future to clear out debris. Okay. That's crazy. My chatters won't even give subs at the top of the hour to let others avoid the ad break at the top of the hour. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $6 or for free with the Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. You want chatters to throw money at you for Zin? You don't need chainsaws. You never leave your desk. When's the last time you used a chainsaw? There's one strap. I'm trying to fucking buy a goddamn electric vehicle, bro. Not yet. I don't think it's like... But at least it. And Porsche's actually been literally calling me nonstop, being like, hey, do you want to get a new one? Your lease is about to be up. Your lease is about to be up. Milton is out. Hurricane Hasan is in. Remember when everyone was yelling at you to buy it? Yeah, they were wrong. Why would you lease? Because I know that I wasn't going to want to. It's an electric vehicle. I like it. But electric vehicles, like, one, depreciate in value. I knew I wasn't going to want to have it when, like, in the realm of electric vehicles, you consistently get, like, newer and newer updates that it's like fucking iPhones, bro. Electric vehicles are basically like iPhones. My EV is worth 3x what I paid for it. What's your EV? A Tesla? It's not a Tesla. It's in the nascent period of tech improvements. Things move quickly. Exactly. Tesla Roadster? You have a Tesla Roadster? What are you, one of like 8 people that actually has one? I thought that they're not like actually real. Like they're not. Have you disclosed the lease amount? I'm genuinely curious. No, I have not. And I also don't even know. This is what motion looks like, bro. Take notes. Yeah, Fango is literally an OG Elon simp. He has a fucking Tesla Roadster. The OG ones, there were like 1 to 2K of. Some have been lost to accidents, fires, etc., but there's still enough floating around. You have some rich ass chatters? No, it's because he's literally a fucking EV journalist. He loves EVs a lot. Him and Megaphonics are the #1 Elon simps in this chat. Reformed. Anyway. Problem is I told the Porsche guy, I want maybe a Macan. But they kind of look like ass too. Have you checked in on the Lambo and the yacht guy? I don't want to because I feel like, bro, I don't want to. You want to know why? Because he's probably all right. He's probably chilling. And I don't want to fucking see that. I don't want to see that because it's going to make me upset. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at homes being destroyed. I'm looking at fucking tornadoes killing people. And then you go to the fucking Section 8 guy and he's living in his goddamn compound and he's just absolutely cooking. Funny story, years before I met Megaphonics in chat, we actually met at an EV event. When I talked to him on Twitch, he sent me a pic of himself in my car. What the fuck? The Cayennes aren't EV yet. Y'all guys in Miami, which isn't even that bad at all, dude. Dude, it'll be perfectly fine. EV is a cult. It's not. It's actually pretty sweet having to never think about going to the gas station. But yeah, there is a Cayenne EV coming out in 2026. But even that looks like ass. It kind of looks like Taycan. I don't know why it's got a duck bill. It's not the real one. You would still go to the gas station if you had EV? What? No, I don't. I don't go to the gas station. The only time I go is to get Zins. No oil change, no gas station visits. It's fucking dope. What about not waiting for hours for an EV charger or a broken charger? I don't have to worry about that. I have 2 chargers. I've literally never had to charge my car outside of my house. What did you drive before an EV? A Toyota Camry Sport, baby, 2010. Sport edition.
I can see the bridge when we make it there.
10 p.m. ESC update. Hurricane Milton is just barely Category 2 upper end with winds of 110 miles. Flash flood advisory is in effect for Tampa Bay area. St. Petersburg has already gotten 16 inches of rain today.
Submarine mode. Boom, boom. You have the pen, right? Yes, sir. That's the text way up there. It's like a chevron. So we're at 1.9 miles.
16, that's like 2 decent dicks of rain. 8 inches is a decent dick for you, Dad Cop? What's a monster cock for you? If 8 inches is a decent dick. Was that like a 15-inch dick? 13 inches? Like 12? 8 inches is a whole lot of dick, my friend. Okay? Size King in the chat. Why is Hasan not in the storm covering the hurricane? You have to go to gas station. You don't even know. Why am I not in the fucking storm? I don't know, because I live in Los Angeles.
Update on flash flooding in Florida. So everything with a green box is under a flash flood warning. There is a flash flood emergency for, hope that wasn't too quick for you, for this area right here, the flash flood emergency. Actually, I could give you the text on why it's an emergency.
How many of your $3 million mansions are at risk in Florida? All of them, dude. So many. And you know I got like 11. I bought 11 $3 million mansions, and then I converted them into like little homes, like tiny homes basically, just so I could fuck the poor over, you know? And I make a lot more money that way. I didn't want to I didn't want to be a landlord to the rich because I feel like, you know, they don't deserve to be fucked over. I wanted to be a landlord to the poor and as many poor as possible. Do you still not have a credit card? No, I do not have a credit card. Is Mar-a-Lago getting hit by this? No, we're not that lucky, Chad.
Swirls in the water. I mean, you know, imagine being down there. Imagine being in your house, a single-story house with all this going on. This is why we ask you to leave. All right, this is why we ask you to leave. And I just.
Oh my God.
I can't even imagine what we're going to see tomorrow. You know, when things.
Oh my God, houses are on fire in Sanibel Island.
Those power lines, that one in the distance there in particular,
That's the island. That's the island that TikToker's on.
We are worried that there could potentially be a fire that starts here. And again, that has been a major issue all across this area. Getting text messages, most recently as 5 minutes ago, from a friend who has family that lives in Sanibel Island, a number of homes over there on fire, Bernie. And again,
the island that the white woman with the dreads is on. Straight up. The one with the house on stilts.
You may have said it. I had a hard time hearing you. Do you have a sense of how much water is on the ground? I mean, like how many inches of rainfall you've gotten?
It's not just the rainfall, though, Anderson. It's really just about the storm surge at this point. You can imagine that the Gulf of Mexico is like a bathtub, and the storm is a person in that bathtub. And since Milton moved across the bathtub of the Gulf of Mexico, it's pushed the water over the edge. And so that's what storm surge really is. And unfortunately, that's the west coast of Florida. And so all of this wind that's blowing directly onshore, the momentum of the storm has pushed in several feet of storm surge. You can see probably at least 4 feet, possibly up to 5 feet, but it's going to continue to push in as the storm moves onshore and the momentum carries that water in. So we're definitely going to see at least 5 feet. It could get much higher, though, and that's why we're still waiting where we are here in Venice and trying to make sure that, we aren't trapped. We have to always have a exit plan, which we do. We have high ground just off to the south of where we are, but still a very dangerous situation with Milton. Even though it's moving onshore, away from landfall, away from where we are, the storm surge isn't.
Yeah. Chad Myers was saying that wind is going to continue around Venice for a while. Jonathan, thank you. Checking back in with you. I'm going to go to Bill Weir in St. Petersburg. Bill?
Yeah, Anderson, you got to get a load of the wind. We found a great little hidey hole in this parking garage. We're on the 4th floor, and you get an amazing perspective. Chad said the gusts here were around 78, 79, but look at that. That looks so much more powerful than anything I've seen. Look at that.
He didn't say Chad.
Blowing through the intersection. The sign on University Boulevard has come down. This is First Avenue, the intersection.
Bill's a streamer, dude.
St. Petersburg. And the other thing we've been keeping an eye on,
Chad, is this
even
real?
Some of the folks who are sheltering here said, did you notice the crane is blowing around? That's another one of those construction trains. Oh, you just saw that lightning sort of backlighted there for a second. This thing has moved almost 180 degrees from where it was pointed when the storm began. And the gusts up there must be swinging those things
Is
around
that normal?
the city of St. Petersburg.
Is that good?
Actually, a warning to just be cognizant of the 4 tower cranes downtown. One more thing to worry about here. But the storm, it's just, I can't describe. I'm just so gobsmacked by the sheer amount of water that is just coming down in these violent sheets. And we have no idea what, I'm sure the harbor, which is just around the corner here, is roiling with all of those boats. I was here for Hurricane Ian and saw just the massive damage done to the marine industry as hell. You got to imagine a lot of sailors, a lot of folks who make their living off the sea, fishermen.
They auto move to be in line with the wind.
Stressed tonight about what is going to do to their livelihood. Not to mention the power outages that are going on now, but it is really kicked up noticeably, and we thought it was bad before. Let's go over here. I'll give you a little more perspective in this parking garage. We're sheltered, but the mist coming in, as you can see, is so strong it's starting to flood these upper levels. But we heard this violent noise, and I was trying to figure out the source of it. It's these aluminum pillars of this parking structure that they're being rocked and scraped against the ceiling there. And so you can imagine what this is, how this storm is testing the construction along the Florida coast. Already some of this stuff is coming loose. Carlos, take a look over here to the right. This is what I'm talking about here.
Lieutenant Dan made it, folks, because Tampa didn't hit directly.
Lights on. Hi, Lieutenant Dan.
I still maintain my posture that if Tampa was hit directly in the same fucking way that like all these other areas are being hit, he would have died.
Lights on.
He was right. God saved him because his boat floats. No, that's correct. You're correct. I know I'm correct. It doesn't matter. Chat are now watching Lieutenant Dan stream. Chatters are leaving me. They're watching Lieutenant Dan. Lieutenant Dan died, but not to the fucking. He overdosed. He did some bad crack. It had nothing to do. It had nothing to do with the fucking storm.
East, maybe east southeast, and now it should
He
be out of
gooned
the
too
north.
hard.
Have you noticed that? may not have heard me. But that's what happens
Yeah, I think
when
we may
you
have lost
start
Bill.
to get the northern part of the eye and it begins to move around. You get the east winds for a while, but then all of a sudden you're in the same place, but the storm isn't. So the wind is going to blow from the north. And so I know Bill really...
Lieutenant Dan is also anti-Israel and anti-Trump, but for the wrong reasons. I was watching his live streams and he was getting political, lol. No, he's that kind of guy. Oh my God. That makes the most sense, honestly. That makes the most fucking sense. There's only one reason you are anti-Trump and anti-Israel, okay? Unless you're Ryan Ruth, who was also anti-Israel and anti-Trump, but for the right reasons. But Ryan Root is a singular force, okay? Mr. Pro-NATO. And I don't believe Lieutenant Dan is another pro-NATO voter. Nor do I believe Lieutenant Dan is like a socialist. You know? There's one other group of American politics understanders out there that perfectly fit in the confines of a Trump voter but don't like Donald Trump, maybe because he's too pro-Israel, and I think you know what I'm talking about. Don't judge a book.
Well, that's depressing.
Sorry, sir.
In terms, Chad, in terms of what you expected this storm to do, or maybe thought this storm might do, how does it compare to...
All the Barstool types thinking Lieutenant Dan is epic is an indication he was doomed? Yeah. What? Lieutenant Dan is a Mossad operative. It's a false flag operation to raise money for Israel and the global elite. Yeah, dude. Israel is so desperate to raise money after raising literally $7 gazillion by simply calling Joe Biden and being like, we want more bombs to kill Muslims. They needed Lieutenant Dan, a fucking crackhead who lost his leg, to fundraise, to straight up fundraise fucking, what, $9 grand off of GoFundMe? Yeah. Dude, Nazis are so funny. They're just hallucinating even harder somehow than the average right-wing American. That's great. That's great.
On the canals, those are the ones that are the most vulnerable because that's where the water is going to want to go, into the canal. If the canal starts to come up over the top, that's when you're going to start to see some up to the, let's say, the wheels of your car flooding. If we go any farther and start to blow more water onshore and prohibit that rainfall from going offshore, that's when the water gets higher. Now, in a big city that is not near, let's say, sea level, you could get basement apartments where you actually have to walk down 3 steps to get there. Those are the people, if there are any in that area, that I would be the most concerned with because the water is just going to fall down
Bill's
those
just
stairs
chilling, bro.
like
Look
a
at him.
waterfall. Some of those...
Bill is just literally taking it all in, dog. That's crazy. He's just like life. He's just sitting there staring into the fucking distance. Beautiful.
You know, Chad, the other thing we've been hearing a lot from local officials in a variety of communities is concern about like sewage system with flooding, which is something I hadn't really, you don't really think much about, obviously, in a storm, but it's something, obviously, for city managers, it's a really big deal. They've lowered, in a number of communities, they've actually lowered the water pressure to try to alleviate some of that potential.
Right, that, and of course...
Can you even legally have a basement in Florida? I feel like Florida is also so stupid that they probably would let you have a basement. I feel like it's the one fucking state that you shouldn't be allowed to have a basement, but because they have no fucking building restrictions, they just kind of let you have one.